Whenever the slightest excuse arises for me to revisit the RSI Galaxy, I take it. And today is one of those opportunities. The Refinery Module seemed like a lot of fun to me and many of my viewers, but unfortunately it did not seem suited as the base for a small independent mining operation, as it is too small to carry any of the mining or salvaging ships available in its hangar. Yes, you can fly two prospectors alongside a Galaxy, but there are plenty of players that would like to use the Galaxy as a small carrier, especially the solo players that also want to participate in big ship gameplay. There's different opinions if that should be possible in-game, but I don't really want to discuss that today. What I want to explore instead is if 4.1's two new mining options, the Golem and the Geo, change the options you have and the value you get out of the Galaxy, specifically in combination with the Refinery Module. Before I jump in, to answer the inevitable Galaxy when question, I don't know. As of today, the Galaxy is still supposed to be next in line after the Perseus, which has been teased already but does not seem ready for Invictus 2025, so I would not expect the Galaxy before IAE next year, so 2026, and that might already be wishful thinking. But that does not stop us from speculating about it, so let's head inside. And I want to start with the most important question. Can a Golem park in the Galaxy hangar? Just the usual disclaimer in case this is the first of my videos you see. The Galaxy is still in concept. Everything you see here is my reconstruction based on blueprints, artworks and official specs. And while I rebuilt it as thoroughly as possible with the given information, there's both room for error in my work, as well as the chance that details change from concept to final design. With that out of the way, according to my reconstruction, the hangar is just as advertised an XXS pad, so 16 meters long and not a single centimeter more. And the Golem is 15.5 meters long. It is still listed as a small ship, not an extra small, but this means technically it should fit even without counting on the space of the doorway here. And because it is not very wide, you should also be able to land it diagonally. That should give you a little more room for error. But what about two? Now, as always, you should not make any purchasing decisions based on what I show here, but I'm actually able to fit two Golems into my rebuilt hangar. And even if we dismiss all I built and all the errors I could have made, if we just take the official size of the confirmed XXS pad, as well as two cargo grids for 32 SEUs each, that should fit two Golems. Super cramped obviously, and the fact that the Golem has this whole animation of the cockpit opening up, which requires a bit of free space in the front, could lead to all the well-known physics issues. But the good news is that even if it just barely fits, the fact that the Galaxy has doors in every single corner makes traversal around the ships a lot easier. But as always, CIG can still balance this and enforce that we only use the central landing pad, for example by adding a beam here, since this cargo grid is also only supposed to hold 32 SEU and not stack a second one on top. But even having a single Golem in here would significantly increase the usefulness of the Galaxy as a small mining and refining base. But however accurate my guesses about this may be, even without landing one inside, the Galaxy Refinery Module should be designed to work with mining ships to take on their collected ore and refine it. However, during the announcement it was specifically said that it was designed to work with the Prospector and Mole saddlebags. Now you could argue that those were the only mining ships available back then, but it was oddly specific. And more than that, it was also mentioned that it has a mechanism specifically designed for the Prospector, but the Mole was not mentioned in that context. This here is from my first refinery video. I'll put that in the description if you want to brush up on the details. Now my question obviously is, can we use the bespoke system with the Golem containers too? Or do we have to bring the containers in and use these things in the corner of the room? Or is the Galaxy incompatible with anything but mining saddlebags? I don't have an answer to that. I don't think there is one right now. New different mining containers may have been taken into account when designing the Galaxy concept, but as far as I'm aware of, it was not shared with us. I personally don't think that a whole manufacturer would be excluded from working with this refinery module, but giving specific manufacturers an advantage is something I could see. Just as I could see a Drake refinery ship, maybe an ironclad variant, that works better with these types of containers than the MISC or Argo saddlebags. But enough about ship-based mining. These things in the corners I just described as possible material intakes. I already said in the first video that I'm absolutely not sure about their purpose. However, back then we joked about these potentially being mech suit stations, cause mechs seemed years away at that point. But now we have them, and we even have a mining mech. And again, there is still no real evidence that this is the intended purpose, but it would be a really great fit. Having 2 stations here for recharging and preparing and repairing your mech could be a great combination with this module. The Geo would also size-wise be an almost perfect fit for the Refinery Module's smaller lift, but keep in mind that I explained in the original video that I'm not certain there even is a lift at all in this module. Now, as always, I'm not confident about the dimensions of this door, as there is no good point of reference. If it's not high enough for the suits to walk through, that would be a bummer. But it would still seem efficient and potentially fun in a group to have a good number of Atlas Geos in here, go mine, come back once the storage is full of ore, and, well, even if there would not be a way into the module, someone could take the containers of the Geos back here and just carry it over into the module. This would be an especially great combination because so far the lack of a rear-facing ramp, or any ramp really, made the Galaxy a suboptimal choice for ground vehicles, relying on tractor beams to get anything in and potentially out of the hangar. The Geo, however, does not really get fall damage right now, and it could just use its jetpack jumps to re-enter the Galaxy, almost as if it was designed for that. And this is honestly all I have to add to the existing Refinery Module video. There's one more thing to talk about though, something I always said I would do in a separate video. Things I would change about the Galaxy if I could. Long story short, I believe it needs way more windows, especially since it was pitched as a potential exploration ship. But even if it takes another role with its modules, so far there are none that would make it primarily a warship. So, more windows. These stations here. In my original video I said these could be either engineering terminals or where the remote turrets are controlled from, and so far there has not been any additional information to support one or the other. In both cases, a window here would be nice, and after taking another look, there actually is one I have missed in my original reconstruction. I went back to see how that could have happened, and it really is only a pixel wide in the blueprint and pretty hard to miss in the concept images. If you know what you're looking for, it's definitely a window though. And it really transforms this station, whatever its purpose is, and opens up this whole area. Next we have these long boring corridors, and if the Galaxy would primarily be an exploration ship, I would open these up too, but it isn't, and also here it would be a bit trickier from the outside. And that brings us to the end of this tour. But in case you have missed them, there are already 4 other videos showing off the complete interior, including modules. At this point I would like to thank my Patreon and channel members, because they support these types of videos that take me a couple of months to prepare. Especially the highest tier grew in the last month, which honestly surprised me and kinda humbles me to see and read how much you like these videos. So thank you. Now, these supporters get interactive scenes I built that you can check out in your web browser and walk around my RCOP apartment that I recently built and shot the first 2 videos in, as well as this Galaxy interior. The Galaxy was the first scene I made, so it lacks the nice lighting from my newer work, but it already features all 3 modules that you can swap out for yourself and get a feel for the scale. I have not updated it with these new windows I just showed you, because for this Invictus I prepared a different new scene that will be available with the next video for Anvil Day, so around next Friday. Alright, if you have any questions regarding the Galaxy that I might be able to answer, I plan on doing a little FAQ at the end of Invictus. And now thank you for watching, and see you in the verse.